Today we will be learning Daf Mem Hey Omid Beis. We will start from the Mishnah at the end of Daf Mem Hey Omid Aleph. Says the Mishnah, Mish Yoshem Baderech, somebody fell asleep, and V'lo Yod Asher Sheikha, and he wasn't aware that it became dark. So Shabbos came in when he was in the middle of his sleep. So that means that he wasn't intentionally kind of shvisa. He didn't decide that he's going to stay there for Shabbos. Nevertheless, even though he didn't consciously make a decision that he's going to stay there for Shabbos, nevertheless, he still has a 2,000 amas. So he still has a tchum around the area where he was sleeping, and he has That's according to the opinion of Rabbi Benuri. Chum say he only has arba amas. They can walk, because the Chachamim, they say that a person has to be koine shvisa. You have to decide that this is your place for Shabbos. If you decide that this is your place for Shabbos, that is when you get the whole Tchum Shabbos around you, the 2,000 amas. But if you're not Kaina Shvisa, you haven't decided where is your place for Shabbos, so then you don't have the Tchum. So you only have the Daled amas which you're in. Rabbi Lazar Eimer. Now, when you have Daled amas, so this is the Bechlal Machlekes in Daled amas, and in a situation where you only have Daled amas, it could be because you're not kind of shvisa, or for other reasons, you walked out the tchum. So Rabbi Lazar says that the person is at the center of the Daled amas. In other words, he has 2 amas wherever he's standing, so he has 2 amas in each direction. Rabbi that you can walk arba amas whichever direction. So it doesn't mean that he has 8 amas. It says it does not mean that. It says Rabbi Huda is moide. If he chose he's going to walk 4 amas in this direction. That's it. He can't go back to the Shena Yochel Lazer. He can't change his mind to say, I want to go actually arba amas in the other direction. If you've chosen that you're going to whichever direction you've chosen, in that direction you have 4 amas. According to Rabbi Lazar, you have no choice. That you're at the center and you have only 2 amas in each direction. Now it's another din in the Mishnah. That you had 2 people, and each one has Daled amas, and the Daled amas overlap between the 2 of them. There's a certain area where a certain part of the Daled amas of the 2 individuals overlap. So they can actually bring their food and have in the middle. They can eat together, and have in the area where they overlap. They can both be there and eat. And we don't worry that after eating together they might end up walking into each other's tchum, which is outside their original tchum. We're not worried about that. Like it says, we've got to be careful. They can eat together. And there's no gzeirat that they shouldn't be together, but they have to be careful that they shouldn't take out from the food from his tchum to the other person's tchum. For instance, he might have an extra piece of cake, so he'll give it to his friend, the extra piece of cake. Then the person will take that piece of cake and go into his original tchum. So no, that because that cake also, not only the person, even the food, the cake, or a cup, or whatever it may have, it also is not permitted to go out with the Daled amas. It's not just the person who only has a Daled amas. The kids shouldn't take out. You shouldn't take out from his Daled amas, and some items of his should end up in the friend's Daled amas. A similar situation. And there's 3 people, and there's a central area which all the three tchumen overlap. This again, this is the is hum motorin. Sorry. If there's if there's this is three. They're not the three. Not the three are overlapping. You have three, and so you have the right and the left and the center one. So the center one, he overlaps with the right, and he overlaps with the left, the person to the left. So the three and the center one is overlapping on both to the person on the right, both the person left. So he can join either the person to the right or he can join the person to the left. But the person to the right and the person to the left, they are not, because since their tchumen did not originally overlap, so therefore they can't say, oh, we are connected because we have this person who overlaps with our two tchumen, therefore we can join the two outside ones, the person to the right, the person to the left can join together. No, the person to the right cannot join the person to the left. Rabbi Shimon says, was it compared? You have three gardens, let's say 3 front yards, backyards. The chutzner actually is a front yard. So there's 3 front yards, which are open to each other. So there's an entrance between each one. The front yards has an entrance to the other one. But they also have an entrance to the Rabbi. So therefore, the individual, they are not. They don't they don't have to use the other person's entrance. They each have their own entrance where they go in from the Rishus Harabim, so the individual, but they have an entrance to connect each other, to connect them. Yeah. So Irvu Shtayim, Imhem Tzoyis. If let's say, so you have to make an Erev, you have 3 Tzoyis, you want to be able to bring food or carry stuff from one Chotzer to the other. You have to make Erev Tzoyis. Now, so you have the center one and the ones at the sides. So the center one made the Erev with the person to his right. The center one also made the Erev with the person to the left. But the right and the left did not contribute to the same Erev. There were 2 Eruvin. One again with the center one with the left, and the one with the center one with the right. 2 Eruvin. So it means the right and left don't have an Erev which they made together. So is Irvushtayim Imem Tzois, both the 2 exterior ones, they made individually, they made an area with the center one. Hemoteres in one, the center one is better to carry things from the center to each one of the exterior ones. The hemoteres ima, they can also carry back to the center one, but nevertheless, the 2 exterior ones, they're not permitted to carry from one to the other. Okay. Now, so we had it in the Mishnah. We had it in the Mishnah that the person is sleeping. So even though the person is sleeping, so therefore he did not consciously decide that he's going to stay there on Shabbos. So he wasn't kind of shvisa. So he didn't consciously decide he's going to be the Shabbos. Nevertheless, according to Rabbi Yechanan, you do have 2,000 amas around you, right? According to Chachamim, if you're not consciously, according to Chachamim, if you were not consciously koine shvisa, if you're in your city, then of course you have the tchum. You don't have to be consciously koine. That is your shvisa. That's the place where you're living. But we're talking about you're outside your city. So if you're outside your city, so if you were not consciously koine shvisa in a particular place, so according to Chachamim, you don't have a tchum Shabbos around you. You have only the Daled Amas. But Rabbi Yechanan, he says you don't have to consciously be koine shvisa. Now, so the Gemara is going to want to understand what is the opinion of Rabbi Yechanan. The question of the Gemara is going to be: is it only for people, or is it for other items as well? Okay, that's so the thing is that let me just mention that the Tchum Shabbos is not just that the person can't walk on Tchum Shabbos. Items which are in the Tchum cannot be carried outside the Tchum. So therefore, the union of Tchumin is relevant also to items. That one is not permitted to carry an item which belongs in the Tchum to outside the Tchum. Right. Now, so what about so items which with the items which belong to someone will obviously have they will have the tchum, they will have the tchum as the person to which they belong, because they belong to somebody, to belong to the owner, and therefore they will follow the tchum of, just so, as I said before, that the items have also a tchum, but the items, they follow the tchum of their owner, right. So if the owner, for instance, will make if just it's another example, that if the owners will make a tchum Shabbos, like sorry, they put an Eruv, say 2,000 amas from the city, and if he makes an Eruv 2,000 amas from the city, so that means he loses the 2,000 amas in the other direction. So then his items, his chveitzim, will also follow him, and one will not be permitted to carry his chveitzim in the other direction. So if a person has his stuff, his clothes which he's wearing, his jacket, all that stuff. So so somebody will not be able to give his jacket to somebody else, and the other person should go in the other direction, outside the city, 2,000 amas outside the city. Why? Because once he made the place is 2,000 amas to one side of the city. So that place where he made the Eruv, that is the center of his tchum, and his chveitzim follow the balabayis. So the chveitzim, yeah. Now, what happens chveitzim which do not have an owner? So well, let me just take it stage by stage. So therefore, yeah. So what happens if chveitzim which do not have an owner? What is their status? Do they also have a tchum Shabbos around them, or do they not have a tchum Shabbos around them? Because the chveitzim hefker, there's nobody who has decided. There's no decisions been made where they're going to be Shabbos. So there's no decision been made where they're going to be Shabbos, because they're not owned by anybody to make that decision. So do they have like 2,000 amas around them or something, or because whoever they are on Shabbos, are they koine shvisa? Without, there's no need for an intentional to be koine shvisa, or so are they koine shvisa or not? So now, so the boy Rabbi asked the question. My kasav Rabbi Yochanan. What's Rabbi Yochanan's opinion? Mr. Kosover Chavtze Shabbos. Does he hold that the chlal there's no relevance of intention concerning Tchum Shabbos? The kavana has there's no need for kavana. Any item has a Tchum Shabbos around it. Okay, if you want to change a Tchum Shabbos, then you'll need to make an Eruv, etc., and all these things. But without so that has, but if you're not changing it, just take where you are, that should be the center of your tchum. So do you need an intention to be koine shvisa, or you don't need an intention to be koine shvisa? If you do not need an intention, any intention at all to be koine shvisa, so then the hefker also are koine shvisa. The chavtze hefker, so there's no intention in it. So therefore, if you find an item lying somewhere, there's that item can be carried by somebody who's permitted to carry. It can be carried to 2,000 amas in each direction from where its center is. And so therefore, right? So not just, what does it say? It says the Mishnah that somebody who was sleeping in the way, so he has 2,000 amas in each direction. Not just somebody who's sleeping. All items, wherever they are along the way, along the road, items which belong to nobody, they have 2,000 amas in all directions. So therefore, be'emes, Rabbi Yochanan should have said a bigger chiddush. He should have said not just a person. He said any item, wherever they are, if they're not in the city, so then they have 2,000 amas in all directions. So chavtze hefker koine shvisa, and therefore, that the emes, he should have said argue with the chachamim, will say that you need to have an intention to make shvisa. Otherwise, you should even be kelim. That would be a bigger chiddush to say that even kelim have a tchum Shabbos, even though there's no intention about where they should be on Shabbos. The reason why he gives a scenario where he's arguing with Chachamim with a person that says a sleeping person it does have a Tchum Shabbos around him, even in the middle of nowhere. He has a Tchum Shabbos around him, even though he did not intentionally decide that that's his place we're going to be on Shabbos, because it looked dark and unexpectedly wherever he was sleeping. That is, why does it say that scenario? You should have said a bigger list, like he said. It's because another reason, because the Chiddush of the Rabbanon, to show the Chiddush of the Rabbanon. We could say, there's a svara to say that a person, he did not intentionally kohen shvisa, but he has the ability to be kohen shvisa. Had he been awake, he would have been kohen shvisa. Since he had been awake, he would have surely decided to stay there on Shabbos. Since he would have been awake, he would surely have decided to be there on Shabbos. So therefore, Yoshin, even though now he's asleep, so now Mikon is also kohen shvisa. So therefore, if we would just say the halacha, the argument would be Rabbi Yochanan is saying his halacha b'negei to kelim, which is a big chiddush. Then you would not know how far the Rabbanon say and how far the Rabbanon argue. You would not, because you think that the Rabbanon they only say keli can't be kohen shvisa, but they would think an Adam, even if he's asleep, it's still kohen shvisa because he has an ability to be kohen shvisa. Since he has an ability to be kohen shvisa, and had he been awake, so therefore, even when he's sleeping, is also kohen. That's what Kamash Malon. That's why they're arguing in the case of a person asleep to the law that the Chachamim they argue even by a person he has to the poil mamash be kohen shvisa. It's not good enough that he has the ability to be kohen shvisa. He has to poil mamash be kohen shvisa. Yeah. So that's the pshat in Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. In other words, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri is of the opinion that not just a person who's asleep can become a shvisa, like said in the Mishnah, but even Stam Chveitzim have no owners. They also have the tchum around them of 2,000 arms around them. And Dilma said Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, or does Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri say, hold, that there's no such thing? Of course, things which have no owners, they don't have a tchum Shabbos. Because you need a person who has kavanah, who so then when he's resting in a certain place, that's the place where he's there for Shabbos. But Chefse Hefker, there's no they don't have a tchum around it, and therefore Chefse Hefker, which will be somewhere in the street or somewhere, they only have the aldamas. Behind the time and the reason why here he says. You don't need kavanah, even without kavanah. You kind of shvisa. Hoy or the mayor kana yoshinamikon. Since it would be in a wake, then he would be able to be kaina. So therefore, when he's asleep, he's also kaina because he had been awake. He would have been kaina. So now he's asleep. He's also. In other words, that the only scenario that without intention, you're kind of shvisa, that's only by human being, and not by chfetzim. Which means, if that's the case, that there's no one who holds chefze hefkes kind of shvisa. There's no opinion which holds chefze hefkes kind of shvisa, because Okay, so the Gemara says Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef says, Toshma, I'll bring you a proof. Says, Kshonim Shiod Me'erev Yontev. Kshonim, which rain, which comes down Erev Yontev, there's water, the water collected a bit. So the rain, which comes on Erev Yontev and collect in a certain place, so they have, you can take that water, Alpayim Amal Kol Ruach. Yeshlam Alpayim Amal Kol Ruach. You can carry that water 2,000 amas in each direction. So you can carry it. So it's the rain Erev Yontev. So Yontev, you can actually carry this rain water, which fell in Erev Yontev. You can carry it 2,000 amas in each direction. beyonta. If it only rained in yonta, if it rained on yonta, so that means the rain was not kind of shvisa. The rain, the rain wasn't there. Ben Hashmoshes, it was not there. The rain. So then harei heim kerangle kol adam. So then it depends on the person who takes them. So if it rained on Yom Tov, so it'll depend on the person who collects in Yom Tov. He can take it to wherever he wants, because they themselves were not koine shvisa. They were themselves not koine shvisa. So the person who is, so one person may have a tchum in one direction, other person may have a tchum in another direction. So each person who takes it, they will the rain, since they're not koine shvisa, the items are not koine shvisa. So therefore, the person who takes them, they'll all depend on where he on what his limit is. So the Gemara says this: if you say that there is such a thing that that even without, there's no opinion, there's nothing there. They're not koine shvisa. So then is homani is the chesed are not koine shvisa. So this brisa, which says that it rains in Erev Yom Tov, they have 2,000 amas. So this brisa for surely says it is koine shvisa, because this brisa says that the rain which came Erev Yom Tov, it has a limit to be carried 2,000 amas, the 2,000 amas radius. Why should it not? Why Erev Yom? Why? Because it must be because Ben Hashmoshes, they were koine shvisa. Because if not, it's the same thing. Erev Yom Tov as if it fell in Yom Tov. It should have the same din as the rain which fell in Yom Tov, and you should be able to carry it. Whoever the person takes it, he should take it whatever he wants. Because there's no the Chavtze Hefker, the Hefker, they don't have no such thing as shvisa for Chavtze Hefker. So Hamani loy Rabbi Yochanan loy Rabbanan. So this brisa will not be not Rabbi Yochanan, not Rabbanan, because the Rabbanon, even a human being is not koine shvisa. So certainly the water is not koine shvisa. In this brisa, it's quite clear that the rainwater is koine shvisa. It's Erev Yom Tov, so it's koine shvisa ben hashmoshes. So that means this brisa will not be not Rabbi Yochanan. So there must be somebody. So therefore, you see a brisa which holds of the opinion. You see a brisa which holds of the opinion that Chavtze Hefker is koine shvisa. Who must it be? So it must be that Rabbi Yochanan is the only candidate possible that holds Chavtze Hefker koine shvisa. By the way, I made a mistake a bit before when I said I think I said before that if it's not koine shvisa, it's only dal damas. No, if the Chavtze Hefker are not koine shvisa, it's not it's not they can't be carried anywhere. The carrying would depend on the person who picks them up first. Okay. Okay, so that was Rabbi Yosef's proof that Chavtze, that Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Nuri holds Chavtze Hefker is koine shvisa, because there must be somebody like that. Okay, the kids of Yosef Abaye, the Komal Hashmaitza. So Abaye was saying this, chazering over the Torah of his teacher Rabbi Yosef. Amr Rav Safar Abaye, so Rav Safar's over there, and said, "One second, what kind of proof is this? The Dilma b'kshamim are smuchel here." Maybe you talk about this rain next to the city, near the city, around the city. So if the rain is around the city, that's what the Brisa is talking about. So therefore, the people, they're relying on that rain. So therefore, the people, they sort of relied on that rain to provide for them, and and therefore it belongs to it has the same radius as the people of the city. So why does it have 2,000 amas? You can't take it to other directions. It has 2,000 amas because the people of the city relied on that rain, and therefore, so it's the das of the people of the city that is koine shvisa for that rain, and therefore, when Yom Tov comes in, it already has a set. Tchum, and it's not dependent if somebody will come along who has an individual tchum somewhere. You can take it over there. No. So we dealing about b'ksham asmuchel iraskin of ansher esir daitem elayu. He says he can't say that. So he can't say that. Why? So Abaye is responding to Rav Safra. Say he can't say that. Basically, he's going to bring a proof. He's going to bring like two brises, and the two brises are contradictory, and then you see that they argue about whether chefse hefke kone shvisa. So they're arguing about whether chefse hefke kone shvisa. Therefore, there must be somebody, and that somebody is going to be Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. So it's correct that Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri is the one that holds of chefse hefke kone shvisa. Let's do that. You can't say your opinion. The Tanya learned the brisa. The boir of water which belongs to an individual. So the boir, all the water in that boir, they have the tchum of that yachid. So if, for instance, the yachid decided is going to go in one direction, this Yom Tov is going to go in a certain direction. So that water, all his water, which is his house, it was also that way. It can't give someone's water to somebody else who's going to go in a different direction. It belongs to the people of the city. So it goes according to what the distance of the tchum of the people who live in the city. These are people who are traveling from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, and these waters there are hefker. So the waters there are hefker. So the people who are on the journey from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, they find water there which is hefker. Then it depends on the person who fills it up. The person who fills it up, so he's zeicha. Once he's zeicha the water, it goes according to him. Yeah, say he gives it to somebody else, the water. So the other person will not be able to take it to their individual tchum. It will follow it, because the moment the person is zeich in the water gets the din of the tchum of the person who is zeich. Okay. So therefore, yeah, right. So the hefkedik water does not have its own tchum. It's shel oile bovel. It's karagla amali. So what happens if the person has, for instance, he made a tchum at a distance from where this water was, and the center of his tchum, the center is Eruv, the Eruv at a distance from where the water was, and that's the Eruv is the center of his tchum. So therefore, he'll be able to take it maybe almost 4,000 amas from where the water was drawn from, because his Eruv is somewhere else. Even though he only filled it up on Yom Tov, because it's kirag lemamala. That's the pshat. Then it says, but so therefore, even though when they filled up on Yom Tov, so that definitely holds. That brisa definitely holds that there is no hefker that doesn't have its own tchum, because it depends on the person who picks it up. Yeah. But Tanya learned a different brisa, Bershul Shvatim, which is similar to Eruvin Bovel, it's hefker and whatever. Yeah. So Yeshem Apayim Amo Kol Ruach. They have only 2,000 amas in each direction. So they have 2,000 amas in each direction. So in other words, if I have a tchum which goes more than 2,000 amas from the place of the water, I nevertheless cannot take it there because it's hefker, and therefore the place where it was ben hashmoshes, that is the center for it, even though it's hefker. Does not need das, doesn't need kavana. That's the center for it, and you can only take it 2,000 amas from over there. It's a kashan adod. It's contradictory. So is chefse hefker koine b'Shabbos koine shvisa not? In other words, does chefse hefker, if they are, do they have the tchum of where they were ben hashmoshes, or are they open to whoever comes and picks up what that person's tchum. So lav shmamina. So we have a contradiction. This lav shmamina har Rabbi Chanina har Rabbanan. Yeah. So one is Rabbi Chanina, one is Rabbanan. So according to the Rabbanan, you need kavana to be kohen shvisa. There's no such thing as being kohen shvisa without kavana. And according to Rabbi Chanina, chefze hefker kohen b'Shabbos. Even though Rabbi Chanina says that halacha only about human being, which the human being there's like more reason to give him shvisa because if he's awake, he can. Nevertheless, but we've proved that since there is an opinion around that out there which says that chefske hefker is kohen shvisa, so it must be that's the opinion of Rabbi Chanina. There's nobody else who it could be. Also come to Rabbi Yosef. When it came to Rabbi Yosef, Amalei, so Rabbi came to Rabbi Yosef, told him, Hachali come Rav Safra. You know, Rav Safra asked this question of what you were saying. Well, that's how I answered him back. So he told him the discussion which had, the question. He asked questions of Rabbi Yosef and how Rabbi defended Rabbi Yosef. Amalei, you should have defended him in a better way. From that actual brisa which I quoted, that itself proves that Nichse Hefker a kohen shvisa. Why? We're talking about what that is. We're talking about the rain is next to the people's city, and therefore it follows the people's city. Why? Because the people in the city, they already had their minds on it in order to use it. So therefore it's kohen shvisa because they thought about the water already. So then the brisa used, because this is the language of the brisa. They have the water has 2,000 amshir direction. Is that the language the brisa should have used? It should have said, the brisa said am sheisir. So therefore, even from looking carefully at the wording of the brisa, you can also conclude that the brisa, even which brisa which he brought, that it holds, there is somebody who holds the opinion that nichse hefker is kohen shvisa. The kitzah, so we have the machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and the Rabbanan, whether nichse hefker is kohen shvisa. Omar Mar. We learned before, beyond of harei karagli kol adam. So said beyond of, so this is the opinion that it's not kohen shvisa, that nichse hefker are not kohen shvisa, and they and whoever picks it up, that's what is going to follow. Is going to follow. So he says the question is why the rain, if it rains on Yom Tov, that means the Erev Yom Tov, it was still in the sea. The water was still in the sea. It rains on Yom Tov. Why did it rain in the Erev Yom Tov? Because the Erev Yom Tov was still in the sea. So the rain came on Yom Tov. So the rain was Shabbos somewhere else. So this is already outside of the tchum of the rain. Everybody could take it to its tchum. The water actually started up Erev Yom Tov, and Ben Hashmoshes, it was in the ocean. Therefore, it's outside the tchum, which by any stretch of the imagination, whichever way you learn pshat, it's always outside the tchum. It came all the way from the Kionos. Let's say the Rabbi Lezer, it's not like Rabbi Lezer. Why? The Rabbi Lezer, so maybe the water does not necessarily come from the ocean, because Rabbi Lezer says all the world drinks from the ocean. It means the water comes from the ocean. But the fact that we say that it rained on Yom Tov, it depends on the person who picks it up. So that means, but it should already be, it was kohen shvisa already. Was kohen shvisa already. Yeah, it was kohen shvisa. Don't forget that this brisa which we're talking about, that brisa holds that nichse hefker is kohen shvisa. This brisa which says nichse hefker is kohen shvisa. Nevertheless, if it rains on Yom Tov, that ben hashmoshes it wasn't anywhere. So since ben hashmoshes it wasn't anywhere, so therefore Yom Tov, it depends on every person can take whatever they want. Every person can take whatever they want. If it rains on Yom Tov. But if it rains Erev Yom Tov, what did that brisa say? You can't take whatever you want. Why? Because that brisa holds Nichse Hefker is Koine Shvisa. So therefore, since the Bryce holds Nichse Hefker Koine Shvisa, so that rain also was somewhere Yom Tov. It wasn't the ocean. Unless you say the water doesn't come from the ocean. So Gemara said that. That the clouds were there Erev Yom Tov. It's the cloud, the Erev Yom Tov took the clouds, but it only rained the Yom Tov, but the clouds were the Erev Yom Tov. Therefore, it wasn't Koine Shvisa. So the Gemara says, one second. How are you allowing yourself to carry this water which rained on Yom Tov? How you carry yourself away from Yom Tov? The water was in the sea, Erev Yom Tov. So at night it was Koine Shvisa in the sea. And you're telling me because you saw clouds on Erev Yom Tov, that means it wasn't in the sea, Erev Yom Tov. Maybe it's new clouds. So since it's new cloud, so therefore, maybe you're taken from the sea. So how can you rely on that this is the same cloud that you saw yesterday, that maybe it's new clouds, and this was Koine Shvisa in the sea, because we hold Niske Hefse Koine Shvisa, and therefore you can't, how can you say that everybody can take it according to their own code? So the Gemara says, the Isla Simon of Gavai. He has a simon. He looked at the clouds and he was able to identify the clouds. He has is very weather capable, whatever it is, and therefore he identifies it as the ones which therefore yes, the same cloud. The Ibai Sema. Now the Terence is it's a suffix. Have a suffix to the brain. The suffix to the brain will it's a suffix. It's the Rabbana. No, it's the Rabbana will now the Gemara has another question. Okay, so what says? So what was your argument? Your argument is because it's the same cloud as yesterday. No, if that's the case, so again, you can't carry it. Why? Because it should. Since it wasn't the clouds, so Ben Hashmoshes, it wasn't the cloud. So it's Ben the clouds. So therefore, the distance is in the clouds. The tchum is from the clouds. It's not counting the tchum from the clouds. So maybe Tifshel B'nei, maybe it's a raya. They ain't cholam maybe you can bring maybe it's a raya. There's no tchum l'maylam yud. You just tchum l'maylam yud. That will be the answer. Maybe that's the answer. There's no tchum l'maylam yud. That's why it's not permitted to use the clouds which you saw there yesterday, because there's no tchum more than 10. Because if you hold the opinion, yes tchum l'maylam yud. Shvisa, look at shvisa ba'avim. You cannot carry it because it's kind of shvisa in the clouds. Beforehand, we learned in the Gemara what the suffix, whether there is tchum in the Ma'alim Yud or not. It was unresolved. The suffix was unresolved. L'chayr, we can resolve it from over here. This Bryce, there's no tchum in the Ma'alim Yud. The Gemara says no, you can't resolve. I'll tell you, yes tchum. Maybe there is tchum in the Ma'alim Yud. There's tchum l'mayim liyud, and if that's the case, how come this Bryce permits you to carry the rain which from the clouds of yesterday's clouds, which was the rain from yesterday's cloud which rained on Yom Tov? How come you permitted to carry it to carry it to your distance when you should count the distance from the cloud where it was there? Ben Hashmoshes says Maya be'eva mivla. The water it's swallowed up in the clouds. Now since it's either in a different state or whatever it is, it's not recognizable as water. So since they're in the clouds, they're not really recognizable as water. It's not water as we have it. It's part of the cloud. It's milaboli. It's not an item by itself. Since it's not an item by itself, so therefore it's not Koine Shvisa. If it's the same item, no, it's a different item. It's not water. So therefore, it's cloud, not water. So therefore, it's not therefore it's not Koine Shvisa in the cloud. I think I'll have to stop over here.